Hey everybody, welcome to the Captain Quail Vlogcast. We're talking about Captain Quail 60, which is called Trojan, if you're following along with the comic. We're going to get right into it and talk about the featured character for today's comic, this Friday's comic, Remy, whose full name, Allison, do you remember?
Lieutenant Remages. I don't know if she has a first name though yet.
We do have a little bit of a tendency of kind of filling in backstory for these characters on the fly. Some of them have really deep backstories, when they're written, and some of them we kind of fill it in as necessary. By the way, I am Philip. I write Captain Quail, and this is Allison.
I draw it.
And we are the creative team behind the adventures of Captain Quail. And so the reason that I find Remy a really interesting character is we needed an engineering character, kind of loosely based on some of the characters from Star Trek, but Allison had some really interesting ideas and opinions that I'm going to let her talk about more.
Yeah, so Remy actually started out as one of the background quails when Hummdrive was first being introduced. She's a little different than her current model, but she's in the very first strip that, assisting Hummdrive, the robotics pilot of the ship. And she has appeared in a lot of comics before I really started to think about more details of her personality and her name, even, as kind of like this running background character. And I really wanted to introduce her as a full member of the cast. I felt, we definitely needed some more ladies in the comic, and that's kind of how she started to come into being.
And one of the things that Allison is good about helping me keep a good balance on is making sure that we have a good balance of male to female, different types of roles, but boiling down to there should be real quote unquote human characters, right? Like, yes, they're birds, but they should be characters that you can sympathize with. And this is kind of following a bit of the tradition of Star Trek. Like, if I remember correctly, when Kirk kisses Uhura, that was the first time that an interracial couple had kissed on television. And so we'd like to believe that we're trying to create a balanced cast that's showing a whole bunch of different aspects of character development. You mentioned Hummdrive. What was the inspiration there?
So Hummdrive is based off of a species of hummingbird that is native to the California and kind of the west side of the United States, and is actually the male hummingbird coloring. Remy is the correct female coloring of a quail. She's a little. Maybe I bent it a little bit, just sort of picking my own shade of brown, and her little cheek patches are maybe stretching reality a little bit, but it's a cartoon, man. I can take some freedoms, artistic liberties, as they say. But Hummdrive is, so like I said, the male coloration of the species. And Hummdrive is a robot, so she gets to pick whichever she wants to be called, because there isn't really any connotation in being a metal robot. So yeah, that's Hummdrive.
And if I remember correctly, we're switching tacks a lot. You're gonna have to work to keep up. Remages. Do you remember where that name come from? I feel like
Yes.
that actually references something,
yes,
right?
Yes, it does. It refers to a type of feather on a bird's wing. They are the flight feathers, used to provide lift. So I just thought it was a cool word, and I could turn that into a name. So Remy.
Awesome. If we hope there are ornithologists in our audience. If not, we probably need to find some. And we do have a tendency of throwing in lots of bird puns. If you remember a couple comics back, there was Admiral... Oh man, I've already forgotten her name. We write a lot of comics, but the Admiral ship was called the Calipepla. And no joke, the name for the Calipepla came from me looking at the Wikipedia article for quails, and that's like the genus that quails belong to is Calipepla. So I thought this massive ship should be like, the Overlord ship should be the genus of quails. This is a comic that has been released on a Friday, and that means that it was associated with a webcomic of the week. And for this particular comic, we talked about manly guys doing manly things, which may be one of my absolute favorites of all the ones that we've posted so far. How did you find manly guys doing manly things? Because, by the way, Allison suggests most of these. I catch up and then say, yeah, we should feature that one.
Well, it's a little embarrassing to admit this, but I find it the way I find most of the comics in my life, Tumblr. I don't remember exactly who posted it, but I saw this comic and I was like, oh man, that's great art. I have to check this out. And I just found it hilarious and awesome. And I mean, it references a lot of video games, most of which I am at least passingly familiar with, some of which I've played, but I don't think that's necessary to get enjoyment out of this comic because it just sort of makes fun of, well, maybe not makes fun of, but makes light of the stereotype of the big, beefy, long, like space marine type that seems to be in so many games.
Space Marines and characters that would fall into the definition that is Kratos from God of War. And in case you're watching this, independent of having seen the comic or listening to this, we may decide to release these as standalone podcasts. I don't think we've decided yet. This is kind of an experiment for us. The comic we're talking about, Manly Guys Doing Manly Things, is the stories of a temp agency populated by the manliest video game characters you can think of. From God of War, from Gears of War, from various fighting games. Marcus Phoenix, I already said Gears of War. What are some others that you've recognized?
There's Dante from Devil May Cry. I think they've also got the newer version of him, which is like.
There's also Dante from Dante's Inferno, if anybody remembers that game. And I think if I remember correctly, the one that just made me bust out laughing was when he was teaching a stitching class to a group of nuns by like having them stitch right onto their arms.
Yeah, it's a little gruesome for, some audiences, but so definitely that one might come with a PG-13.
Yeah. Parental guidance necessary. In case there are any kids watching this, ask your parents first.
Yeah.
One of the questions that we have gotten from our loyal fans is when we're going to be seeing Hummdrive again. This could be because this particular fan has a little bit of an obsession with Hummdrive. She hasn't featured much in this particular story arc, but she will be coming back. This story arc was highlighting some new characters like Commander Gray that was featured in our last Vlogcast and will probably be popping up again. And we're really trying to do exploration into what are all the... Sorry, I just happened to notice Allison looking up the spelling of lieutenant, which really amuses me. Oh, look, you can see what the actual scripts from a comic for Captain Quail looks like. It's a little bit of our process along... I write a script in Google Docs, I normally send it to Allison, and then she turns my random scribblings into actual art.
Yeah, hush you about my spelling. Like, it's better I look it up and spell it correctly than... It's like, there is no spell check on writing something in a paint program.
That is a very fair point. I feel like I should definitely mention that a lot of these questions, the ones that we're answering, are coming from our fans and people who watch or who read this. If you would like to have your question answered, you should definitely send it to captainquail@inkpebble.com. We are also going to be attending some cons in the near future that we talked about in our last episode that we'll probably be talking again in the future. Before we run out of time, because we're getting very close to having the comic done and you being able to see it in all its glory, let's talk a little bit about... do you remember what the inspiration for the hangar bay at...
Oh, yes. The hangar bay on the... is it in the Death Star or is it the... Okay, yeah. I was wondering if it was one of the large...
Star Destroyers?
Star Destroyers, thank you.
Oftentimes, when I'm writing a script and I'm sending it to Allison, I'll include like a Google link to what I'm thinking of, and the hangar bay on the Egg Surprise does not come from Star Trek, because I will shamelessly steal from just about any source I can find. It actually comes from Star Wars, and that amazing scene where the Millennium Falcon is trapped on the Death Star and is being boarded by troopers. If any of you recognize that from a couple comics ago, you get kudos points. I'm not sure what kudos points translate into, but you get kudos points. Congratulations. Um, we were talking about web comics of the week. Is there anything else that you've been reading recently? Oh, we're almost out of time. We'll have to talk more about comics next week. But is there anything that you think people should be reading in between now and the next time that we talk to them?
Unsounded, 100%. Ashley Cope does this beautiful, amazing comic that's super interesting about it's been featured before, but you should totally check it out if you haven't already.
And for my part, I am going to recommend that you read. Oh, we're out of time. Next week, we'll tell you more. Thanks for watching.
Bye.